Welcome back to the Student Gaming League here live in Manchester at Event City. We're here part of Replay Expo, and we're giving you great League of Legends action here on the main stage. Brought to you by I Love Tour, the Student Room, Alienware, and of course Mad Cats, the winners, the champions of today, walking away with a trip to Barcelona, and it's all part of SGL's road to Salou. It's time next for our next League of Legends matchup. It's the University of Salford, Manchester, versus Manchester Metropolitan University. Now, over to our commentators.
I think we're live. Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Play Expo, the Student Gaming League. I am Richard Folskamp. Alongside me is James Stress O'Leary.
Oh, it's a good day today. We're giving away tickets to Barcelona. That's what everybody's playing for Salou Fest.
Yeah,
which,
five tickets to Salou.
I've not been myself, but I hear it's quite awesome. So that is a pretty cool prize given to our winners. And of course, big thanks to our friends at Alienware, Mad Cats, I Love Tour, of course, Rockstar Energy Drinks, and the Student Room. Yeah, indeed. That's thank you to everybody that's making this tournament possible here for the Student Gaming League. We're about to head into our lower bracket round 3 game, which is going to dictate who goes into the consolation finals to face Leeds, who we just saw drop down to that lower bracket.
Indeed, knocked out by Manchester University. Had an extremely solid game in the last game that we saw. We'll see how these two teams come up against each other. Salford and Manchester Metropolitan, who we saw earlier today, won both of their games, looked incredibly strong themselves. And we'll see if they can replicate that this time around. But on Salford, it will be in the top lane, Bromir. In the jungle will be Sergeant Vodka. In the mid lane is going to be Dark Harvester. And in AD carry and support, Bod and his support of Astronomica.
Yeah, and over on the red side, we've seen them a good few times today already. Vinny the Noob in the top lane, Contact Zero in the jungle, Slurps in the mid lane, Lionize Me as the marksman, and Epical Moose in support.
Yes, indeed. So we'll see if they can replicate their earlier successes today here, Stress. We're just waiting for these teams to give the good to go, and indeed they have. So now heading into Champion Select, we'll have to see if Manchester Metropolitan go along the same route as they did before in terms of their banning phase. However, blue team now will be Salford. They come out of the initial Morgana ban.
Oh, and there's already an advantage that we can see in the lobby that you guys can't see. Honorable Opponent badge on Sergeant Vodka. Shout outs to the Honorable Opponent. Has managed to keep that. That's actually fairly rare that you see the Honorable marks these days. They're significantly harder to get. But we are in the pick and ban phase. This is another local derby. Salford from not too far away from here in Manchester. So a third Manchester team to keep track of. And really, this is for all of the bragging rights.
Yes, indeed. So more band champions have come out of the gate fresh. Tristana and Syndra all find themselves in the band champions list in this game. Tristana did see banned out last game as well, along with 2 other AD carries.
Yeah, we saw heavy priority on the AD carry and ended up seeing a very old school Caitlyn Ezreal matchup that we have not seen in quite some time, and that was a pretty interesting game to watch. A little bit different from what we're used to on the current meta when it comes to actually pushing. Very easily stalled out and kind of ended up in periods where the game went into lull.
Yeah, absolutely. So, last ban out will be the Rise. Saw Vinny on his very first game of today do very well on that Rise pick, followed by Irelia as well. So his champion pool is fairly extensive. Still, do not want him to get his hands on that champion. And with only a couple seconds remaining, Manchester have not decided on the final ban just yet.
Yeah, we'll see what in fact it is, and I believe they are just about ready to make it.
Yeah, it was in fact Irelia, so 2 top lane ban champions, and we've so far seen Vinny on both of those, so we'll have to see where he turns for his next pick, but it's going to be the first pick Lucian coming out from Salford.
Yep, Tristana not available, so first pick is pretty much always Lucian in that scenario. There are very few situations, unless you're a Korean team, where you don't just lock Lucian in. Korean teams tend to pick up Twitch, but Lucian is pretty much the AD carry of choice around the world currently.
Yep, just consistent in all his matchups. The hover over Diana.
That ain't
I
happening.
can't see that happening today here, Stress. Have not seen a Diana in quite some time. Did have a small stint when she was released in jungle, but after that kind of disappeared into Tifa.
Yeah, it's not happening. I mean, she's always been known as a mid laner. Actually was played top lane for a teeny little while, but her kit just is not good right now. That just is how it is. She's a melee range mage, and it's going to get swapped over. But she's melee range, doesn't really have all that much survivability, and pretty much doesn't really do too much in the game.
And if you compare her to other assassins, perhaps Fizz, Zed, completely outclassed. Either way, we're not going to be seeing that in this game. We'll see probably another placeholder in the form of Poppy is in fact going to be that Ahri, as you can see on screen. Vi as well will be following up here as another pick from Contact Zero. I believe in every single game he's picked up Vi.
Yeah, I mean, Vi is, I don't want to say a niche pick, because she isn't, she's in that tier just below, you look at a Lee Sin, a Kha'Zix, a Jarvan, that kind of area. But players that are proficient on Vi and have her as a favorited champion tend to kind of pick her over everything, because she's very strong if you have the correct decision making, if you know when to trade on Vi.
Absolutely, but in response we see the Lee Sin coming out here alongside Leona, and Lee Sin again has never really disappeared. It doesn't really matter what you do to him. The top players, if you are used to Lee Sin, most of those players will have that in their champion pool. We'll be seeing that taken out here, most likely in the jungle. Unlikely we'll be seeing it anywhere else here, Stress. And Leona as well picked in.
That is a curious pickup for support. Now, what that tells me is that Salford's duo bot lane like to be aggressive. They could have opted for a Nami here. They could have opted for, with Morgana Band, they could have opted for Braum, would be another option that I probably would favor over Leona, but that's going to give them better long-range engage here with the Leona. So rather than going sustain, they want all-out aggression.
But in response, we have the Janna and the Corki, and it's basically a no-brainer. There's a Janna there, so if I can't pick Fresh to flay you backwards, I'm going to pick Janna so I can Howling Gale you instead.
Yeah, Howling Gale, Monsoon, both very good for getting rid of pesky Leona, and that is going to be a difficult matchup to kind of play out once they get a couple of levels into each support.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult to initiate on them, especially with the Valkyrie as well. Valkyrie back, Howling Gale, Monsoon, and the Zephyr as well. Leona will almost never be able to get in range unless we see some heavy pressure from Lee Sin. And are we going to be seeing a Yasuo pickup here?
There's a really potent combination they could go for here. It would be very heavy AD on their team. If they opted for Alistair Yasuo here as a top lane and mid lane pairing, that would be insanely good.
Yeah. And it is a possibility, but not one they're going to go for this game, because it does look like they're opting towards a couple other extremely strong picks in the current meta. Zed and Rumble will find themselves locked in this game.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Zed, high priority. Rumble has pretty much been the top lane pick over at World, so not too surprising to see them coming out here.
Yeah, Rumble in the top lane has been seen a lot in Worlds. And Rengar as well is another champion seen a lot of play in Worlds. But as we've discovered, no one's Rengar is good apart from the Koreans.
Yeah, and pretty much that's only that's only the Samsung teams that have really been proficient with Rengar. As well. Yeah, Clearlove has been doing a pretty good job with Rengar, but you know, Samsung White held their Rengar back for so long, and then just yesterday we're thinking, oh well, yeah, we'll bring it out. It's the semifinals, and pretty much ended up dominating from that jungle. But it's not going to be Rengar jungle. It's going to be Vi jungle and shades of Mima with Rengar up in the top lane.
We have not seen a top lane Rengar in a very, very long time. And Mima himself has even said, I don't really like top lane Rengar anymore.
Yeah, he's just said that the matchups just aren't favorable. And they, on Super Hot Crew, were trying to get into a matchup that they could just pick Rengar for Mima and he'd decimate the lane, but it just doesn't really exist anymore.
Yeah, you remember back to when Rengar was banned out for a long, long time in LCS, and then when he was eventually available again, Mima just didn't pick him up, even though he was available. Everyone was waiting for that moment. So we are going to be going through Champion Selector once again, ladies and gentlemen. That's why we have the slight delay, as we did have the placeholder. We are playing on live here at Play Expo, meaning not everyone will have all the champions to swap over to each other. And they will just use placeholders instead. Usually champions that aren't seen in the current meta, like Poppy, like Teemo, and will just, as the name suggests, hold their place for a different champion.
Yes, indeed. We have had all the swaps come around, though. We are locked in with all champions, and that means we are about ready to head on to the Rift. But we do have the 3-minute spectator delay, so unfortunately you're stuck with us for a couple of minutes longer.
Yes, indeed. So, we've spoken a little bit about the jungle. Lee Sin in the jungle up against Vi. That's probably the most one-sided jungle matchup we've seen in terms of how he'll be able to counter jungle Vi, if he wants to.
Yeah.
Because usually these junglers are pretty even. And Vi is also very good at counter ganking, but that seems to be the play here that will be what Contact Zero has to bring to the table.
Yeah, it's been a little while since we've seen Vi against Lee Sin, and both have had their kits changed a tiny little bit. Vi had damage reduced, Lee Sin had the attack speed debuff reduced, and the safeguard duration for the shield reduced as well. So both of them are slightly worse at trading now than they used to be. But Lee Sin is going to be as proficient as ever at stealing away Vi's jungle.
Yeah. So we'll see how this one works out as we get into this game. Mid lane, however, Zed and Ahri, pretty much a skill matchup.
Yeah. It's a really tough matchup. Again, it's assassin versus assassin, and at that point, it's all down to the charm timing from Ahri. If Deathmark gets activated and then Zed is charmed, Zed pretty much is going to do no damage in that engage. However, if you miss that charm, if you let Zed get the Deathmark, if you can't Spirit Rush away, Zed's going to kill you pretty quickly.
So the skill matchup in mid lane, see who comes out ahead. Both heavy ganking junglers might be able to tip the tables, however. Bot lane, we touched on it before, the Janna and Leona. Zenith blades in, gets knocked up by Howling Gale. Could be a big issue for them in the bottom lane. It is a very aggressive lane, but kind of showing their cards very early into Champion Select may cause them some problems.
Yeah, that's one thing we're going to have to watch out for. And the other thing we're going to have to watch out for is Lee Sin's new splash art from patch 4.18.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I won't say what I think of it, but it's interesting.
I mean,
at least the thumbnail is.
I see what you did there.
Either way, only a couple minutes remaining on this delay. Let's touch on the compositions just a little here, Stress. So they do have the engage. It's primarily actually going to come out from the Leona. So they were planning this beforehand, and we were talking about team compositions actually needing to play a part here. But they kind of had this before they went into the Champions Select. Regardless of what their opponent does, we're going to pick this composition.
So over on Salford's team, who, by the way, great name, PJ Salford, is their full team name, which loving the Twitch shout-outs on that one. But their team composition is heavily based around dragon fighting. You look at a Zed who early game is going to look to pick up a couple of kills from those, Equalizer from Rumble, Solar Flare out of Leona, very good for securing early objectives, and that's what we're going to have to watch out for from this team. But I mean, I wouldn't really say the mid-game is their playground either, because over on the other side, you've got Corki and Ahri. Rengar is always a little bit of an enigma when it comes to top lane. He has a surprising amount of damage, but it's whether he can get into fights at the right time. So there's kind of this back and forth, and expect Dragon to be a highly contested point.
It's a very volatile top lane, that's for sure, and I'm not sure how it's going to work out. It's not a matchup you hardly see ever. In fact, you do not see like Rengar anyone matchups because he's never really played in the top lane anymore. As you mentioned, does offer a lot of damage. Most junglers are now maxing the Q over the bowler, which was what you used to max for a long time.
Yeah, you used to basically go cooldown reduction and get points in Ebola, in bolas. Man, the news is just playing on my mind. That was a slip up. Ah, dear. The news. I've been watching far too much news. The bowler.
The bowler.
Yeah.
I'm going to mess up now. Anyway, Rengar's E is an exceptional tool just a couple patches ago, but now has really just been changed up to the Q. Once again, actually, when Rengar was released, it was the Q that came in.
I'm cracking up here after that.
Yeah.
Because I heard you say bowler,
Yeah.
and I said to myself, don't say that.
Yeah.
And then I said it.
Yeah. It's probably when you think about it too much.
Yeah, exactly. But, okay, we are connecting into the game. That is the important point. This is round 3 of the lower bracket. This will determine who faces Leeds to go into the grand final. So, they will then face off, I believe, against Manchester University. So there's a high likelihood that it's going to be 2 of the Manchester teams that actually play against each other.
Yeah.
Because Salford are from the local area as well. And, of course, Manchester Metropolitan. So, yeah, there's a good chance.
Well, we were told that both these teams have a big rivalry between them, so we'll see if we get to see that later on today here, Stress. But either way, guys, we are now into game with Salford in the blue corner, MMU, Manchester Metropolitan University, up in the red, the purple, whatever you like to call it. We'll see how this one works out. No one has actually moved from the spawn pad, which is somewhat concerning.
Hot off the press. It's... Okay, there we go. Wow, okay. I wonder whether there was just a little bit of lag at the beginning of the game. Nevertheless, we are on to the Rift.
So Zed has opted towards the long sword in the mid lane against the Ari here, who has just picked up, again, the pretty standard Doran's ring coming out. So very standard starts coming in here so far, Stress.
Yes, indeedy. But Cloth and 5 on Rumble, because he is against a Ringar up in that top lane, makes a little bit of a change. Also, John opting for Coin as opposed to...
Frostwinds.
Yeah, as opposed to the Spellkeep's Edge. Always got to try and remember that one.
Yeah, I can never remember the one in the middle.
Frost Fang.
Oh.
Yeah, I can remember those two, because it's Frost Queens, Frost Fang, Spellthief's Edge. Yeah, exactly.
Which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, continuity. That's what we like. No teams opting for a sweeper trinket early on in the game, which is something we've commonly seen in Worlds.
Yeah.
Looking for those early wards, looking for the position, but that comes a lot from knowing the team you're playing against, knowing their habits in the level 1 for wards, which, as much as it would have been possible by watching previous games, you're working on limited information here because there's only a certain number of games that you're actually going to be able to catch.
Yeah, for sure. And in this case, they would just go what they know, what they like to do in the early game, and that's just pick up a normal trinket ward and just utilize that. All that vision will be placed down in the river. Both of these teams will just go for very conventional starts, just start in the bottom side of their jungle, maybe even meet in the top lane. No CC on either the top laners though, so it may be a little bit of a difficult gank if they choose to do so.
Yeah, a bit of a tricky gank is that top lane for this matchup, and I'm wondering how Vinny the Noob is going to play this. Because he's shown us his proficiency on champions like Ryze. Rengar is a very different champion. Rengar, you need to start getting damage early, you need to start getting kills early, and from there, keep snowballing throughout the game. But, I mean, Rengar into Rumble, I don't know how that matchup actually goes. It's not a matchup we've seen very often, and I have to feel that Rengar's not going to want to itemize against magic damage anytime soon. He's going to want to go flat damage.
Yeah, a Hex Drinker might be possible for the top lane. In the bot lane, huge damage, the huge burst from just the shield into the Phosphorus Bomb and the auto attacks, pushing Bot back. Will be landing another Phosphorus Bomb and has to pump his health potion. It's going to be Leona who's going to do the farming for him with these Relic Shield stacks, but this is the brutal lane to go up against. Again, another Phosphorus Bomb will connect, but is one auto attack away from death. Still has Flash, still has double summoners, but one auto attack in the right place could secure the kill.
But at this point, he's going to be backing at level 1. Lucian cannot stay in this lane. One more Phosphorus Bomb and he's a goner.
Yeah.
And I mean, even at this point, if Jana just Howling Gales through the wave, they're going to end up under turret, and that's an easy lineup on that Phosphorus Bomb.
And there we can see he is going back to base. Level 2. And Corki would just go ahead and Phosphorus Bomb, trying to recall right in Corki's face. There's the Howling Gale once again. He tries recalling, but in the wrong place. It's a no-brainer to try and interrupt him when they're pushing up against their turret. 12 CS to 4. This is his time to try and catch up in farm, but there's no way he can get at the back line of minions.
And even Leona's taking a lot of damage, so it's not like she can push forward here. Oh my god.
And that is a Phosphorus Bomb for first blood. That was kind of just inevitably going to happen there, Stress. Didn't burn either of the summoners either.
That
he had time to react.
He thought it dodged it, but Howling Gale, the width of it is surprising.
Oh, contact 0 in the top lane though with the Vault Breaker. Vinny the Noob, does he have the damage? The red buff is ticking. It won't be enough with the Scrap Shield coming in to save him.
Scrap Shield just managed to get off the overheat there to make sure he could keep himself alive, but Flash has been burned. And that is a weak point now on the map. We talked about how difficult it would be to gank, but mid lane, here's the gank, missed the Q though.
Yeah, Valko's looking for this gank to happen. Dog Harvester has been dragged into him with the charm. Now Vi coming in for the counter gank, charging up the Vault Breaker, like to land this onto Harvester, flash forwards into the Orb of Deception, but Living Shadow was still up.
I'm wondering what was the Q timing there, because that flash into Q, should it be, sorry, what was the charm timing? Because that should have been flash into charm, not flash into Orb of Deception. Very rarely do you flash into an offensive ability with no crowd control unless you're determined to get the kill, unless somebody is so low health.
Yeah, I guess he was just predicting the Vi to hit the Vault Breaker, but it was never really going to hit with Living Shadow up and just being out of range. So
Ignite.
Either way, that is the Ignite ticking down. It's not going to be enough, though. That's a nice looking turret.
That is a nice looking turret. Hopefully that turret will disappear from our view. Hopefully it hasn't been there too long. Unfortunately, we have our own screens, so we can bring you the radio commentary, but there we go.
Vinny Noob in the top lane. Still taking hits, but as you can see, the farm is basically the same in this game. The tower is just taking down these minions. Vinny is able to easily farm underneath the turret. Bot lane, however, the same story cannot be said. 28 farm to 17, huge advantage just from that level 1. That was with no jungler intervention. It was just simply being outplayed in the laning phase. And we mentioned this is a lane that's going to be difficult for Leona, and blind picking a Leona with the current meta of like the Janna coming in does not manage to interrupt the Xenoblade. However, with Howling Gale turns around. This will be Corki coming in, but he could jump straight into the Lee Sin for the counter gang. Jukes the Sonic Wave, however, may be able to get away from this one. Flash into the Shield of Daybreak, another Xenoblade as well. Moose should be able to get away. Counter gang from Vi, lands it onto Leona. This is still very risky with Lee Sin alive. So 1 for 0 and will even up the lane.
They had a lot of wards around the lane, so I think they thought they were safe. I would love to go back and maybe be able to see whether they actually spotted Lee Sin coming into the lane. Top lane, this is the Rumble damage.
Yeah, Vinny is taking a lot of punishment. That is now an overheated Rumble, however, but he still can't stay in range. His auto attacks will start to hurt even more when that passive comes into effect. Either way, 1-1 so far in kills. 400 gold advantage goes to the team of Manchester. At least bot lane is now no longer a lost cause.
Yeah, Manchester Metropolitan are now slightly ahead on the gold lead, but that overheat in the top lane, yes, it does make Rumble vulnerable, but the fact that he's got that Flame Spitter active with the added damage makes it really difficult for Rengar to sit in front of him and look to trade. Bottom lane, that kill going over to Leona probably wasn't the best of events. Oh, Valkyrie forward.
Here's the engage, lands Howling Gale onto 2 players. That will be Janna dropping. Will be able to pick up a kill and return. Jukes into the bush, cuts the vision, will be doing the same again. He's one more auto like Vi is here to clean up, however, and Leona's not going anywhere. They make sure that will just be dropping to minions. Corki gets that one on a 1 for 1, and again the kill goes to Leona.
Couldn't drop the minion aggro. You've got to get out of the bush to get back into the bush if you want to drop that aggro, but that was an interesting kill to pick up on Leona there. Not too sure that really was an engage that Lucian and Leona really wanted, and because they'd used everything in the previous engage, there was no real way to disengage.
Yeah, and despite sacrificing herself, Janna allowed the lane to get ahead. Those 2 kills on Corki are way more valuable than the support. But again, taking a ton of damage from Corki, is not really responding in kind, just takes the harass and just takes it like a man, doesn't return any damage.
47 CS to 30 currently. This might be what they need to try and equalize that.
Another great sidestep will be getting out of the way of the Sonic Wave, and this is yet another gank by Lee Sin. The first one went well, but that was just because of the flash being burnt, and Leona can't do that again in a short space of time.
Corki at 2-1-0 also really is hindering Lucian in lane. It's actually a 700 gold lead in the bottom lane for Corki right now, and that is the difference between these two teams. So watch that really start to filter through into the itemization. He's going to hit Phage far before Lucian is able to get any kind of item to hold his own in lane, although Lucian has kind of skipped out on the first Dorans. I think he's actually saving for a BF sword.
Mid lane gank, however, there's the death mark. Jukes again out of the way of the Sonic Wave. That will be him juking backwards with his ultimate, gets back to his turret. Lucian's ganks have so far been super effective against these lanes. Ultimate has been burnt, however, by both of the mid lanes. There's the Solar Flare coming in. Lands the Shield of Daybreak as well. Has already used the Valkyrie, but the Monsoon will make sure Corki gets out alive. It's probably already safe, but better safe than sorry, as Vinny the Noob will again try to trade with Rumble, and this is just not working out. He will follow through. Not sure if he can pick up the kill, but there's the equalizer. Bot lane, however, Bod will be taking some damage. Goes in for the engage, and they should be able to get away. Likewise, Vinny was able to get away with his life. 9 lives in the top lane. Yeah, a lot of escapability here, but now that Equalizer is not available, Vinny the Noob may be able to catch Rumble off guard. If he can catch him overheating, if he jumps into the bush here, activates his ultimate and gets to 5 stacks of ferocity twice, he could actually trade here. This is very, very dangerous. Tries to get the ferocity just so he could get the extra health back. Tries to do that, just trying to stay in lane. Doesn't have the teleport, so he has to stick around. But this is getting more and more dicey by the second, especially with Bromir with the flash. He's just going to go for the tower drive and pick up the kill. There it is, Flame Spitter. And will he even need to use the flash? He walks back into the turret. That was almost very, very dicey. Either way, a 1-0 and a 1-on-1, not what you want to be happening. I mean, Vinny kind of half opted to not do anything in that engagement. He was trying to build ferocity stacks, couldn't get to 5, had his ultimate available. Why not ult in that situation? There's no way that Rumble is going to be able to trace you down while looking towards overheating. I mean, that's pretty much a free kill under the turret after the ultimate, because you get the ferocity, you get that savage roar, and get the health back. And now Vinny's just picked up a Negatron cloak, and that's pretty much the opposite of the item build you need as Rengar, because you need to snowball the early game. That's what Rengar is at the moment. You get all these extra damage items, and then you just blow someone up. You're not going to be doing that with Negatron cloak. Bot lane, however, Contact Zero comes in with the ultimate, lands it onto Bod. Follow through as well from the teleport from Vinny. Nice kick, will be knocking him back, but he gets the jump from the bush. Bromir has now come in as well with his own teleport. Vinny trying to make it the second kill. Contact Zero very low himself. He cannot offer his own assistance. There's the equalizer in the perfect place, locks down the Corki, still ticking down. Will be able to flash away, follow through with the Sonic Wave and the resonating strike. Vodka will be able to get away, and Bromide is still landing the damage. There's the Depog. It's just been such a long engage. The mid lane has now come into it, and that will just be enough to finish him off. It looks like overall, with that turret going down, can they answer that? Looks like overall, perhaps even an advantage, I would kind of have to say, for Manchester Metropolitan. Yes, they lost out on kills. Ari comes in, lands the second charge of her ultimate, comes in for the third, but this is a 1 versus 4, picks up 1 kill, and will just get dropped where she stands. I mean, she got the turret. Turret plus 1 kill in exchange for 4 kills. Turrets are permanent. Yep. That is putting them ahead in this game. 6-4 currently. Manchester Metropolitan University still ahead in this game, however, with a solid lead. Still nothing to write home about in this game just yet, Stress, as everyone has gone back to base. There's a Deathfire Grass now picked up by Ari. Likewise in the mid lane, 2-0 and 0. Zed, you have to feel, must have a fair chunk of change to spend. 1,000 gold in his back pocket. So we'll be going back and utilizing that very shortly. But the first item's picked up again in the jungle as well, matching blow for blow. In the bot lane, 1 versus 1 between the AD carries, still going the way of Corki. The big one connects onto the backside of Bod as he gets back to turret. And actually, looking back at that fight, it was a 2 for 4, but with the turret going to Manchester, because Janna picked up a kill, which at the time wasn't ideal. Rengar expended so much to get to that bottom lane, and ends up not getting the kill from that. We already talked about his itemization is to keep himself alive, which he needs to do, but Rengar is an all-out damage champion. Yes, you build tank halfway through the game and start making sure you don't die at the same time, but you need that initial damage. Oh, Leona coming in, but there's the counter guy from Contact Zero. It doesn't matter because the AD carries have just traded out. There's a 1 for 0, and now they're already on the back foot. Salford are not looking good in this engage, and there's the Assault and Battery. Had to hold that one back. Triple kill comes from Corki. Top lane now trading off. It will be Bromire going 1 versus 2. He will pick up Ari. Can he get the second? No, he will not, but in a 1 versus 2, still picks up the kill and allows his team to do more. Yeah, it pretty much opens that bottom lane up. There's no way of anybody really defending against that, and from that they're going to take Dragon. Bottom lane engagement, I don't even know what was going on down there. Lucian was well under half health and then decides to dart forward to try and get into the fight. That is not the kind of position you want to be forced into a fight, and it's going to result in a Dragon going over to Manchester Metropolitan as well. And from what was essentially 600-700 gold lead, they've rapidly turned it into 5,000. You know, AD carries do this a lot, where it's like, I want to get into the fight, so I'll just beeline it towards him with my initiation, or rather gap closer, which is more of an escapability for most AD carries. And there was an interesting Reddit thread a couple of weeks back where it's just like, if you want to engage, you go at a 45-degree angle. So
Yeah.
you're closer, but you're still skirting around the fight. You're not just in range of their front line.
Yeah, exactly. If you go straight into the fight, you're a massive target.
Yeah.
Especially when you don't have... I'm going to go ahead and assume that Lucien did not have flash available during that fight. He has it available now. I would assume it has recently come off cooldown. If you don't have flash available, hold on to your E.
Yep.
Do not use that unless it's in complete dire situations.
Even more reason to hold the E.
Yeah.
Exactly. But now, with the jungle buzz being donated to their respective lanes, so far we haven't really seen very much counter-jungling in these games at all, apart from when a team is so far ahead, they would do something. But in the top lane, we do have even more items picked up, looking towards that mid-game. The Haunting guys, of course, picked up from Rumble, heading towards that standard build we will see.
Yeah, pretty standard, but ooh, 80 carry caught out.
Corki has been called out. Follow through from Sergeant
Equalizer.
Foster as well. Equalizer will be pinning him in place. An 80 carry for the jungler so far. Vinny comes in with the damage, but he's basically just built tank at this stage. Dog Harvester will come in. Fail flash into the wall. Will be face planting. And there's Slurps coming in from the mid lane, picking up the kill onto Bromire. A 2 for 2 so far. Contact Zero now comes into the fight. Dog Harvester jukes away from them, but right back into them. Uses Deathmark right in the middle of that fight. So a 3 for 2 in favor of Manchester Metropolitan.
Turret in the bottom lane is going to go down, though, in favor of Salford. So that's a minor prize coming from that. That's going to kind of hold the gold lead to pretty much what it was previously. But look up in the top lane. It looks like that's going to be answered with a turret of their own here for Manchester Metropolitan. So as quickly as Salford start to maybe close the gap a little bit, Manchester Metropolitan are just going to open it straight back up.
Contact Zero heads into his jungle, will find himself Leona, who's just going ahead and recalling, will be chasing him down, heads into his own jungle, should be good to go with Lee Sin behind him as well. This may turn into a pick onto Vi. Light interrupts the Volbreaker, but actually jumps over the wall, misses the Q, doesn't predict the stun in from Leona. Oh, charm over the wall as well from Slubs will just be a bit of harassment to add to that one, but 9-11 so far, 5k advantage, a pretty healthy lead so far from MMU.
That's a little bit heartbreaking, not landing that Q.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so close. They didn't really have the vision over there, so you're just kind of blindly looking for it. But that was a little bit disappointing they didn't end up getting that.
Yeah, because with the Q, he would have been able to hold it until he went over with the flash. In the bot lane, a very interesting pickup. Has gone for the lock of the Iron Solari onto Janna very early into this game. Typically not what you see.
Yeah, it isn't what you see. We've seen a lot of people talking about Janna, specifically Grepo, as throughout the entirety of the analyst task segments at Worlds has been talking about how you want to go Spell Thief's Edge to begin the game, then rush your Mikhail's Crucible after your Sightstone, because Mikhail's is so valuable on Janna. You're already giving people shields and heals. An extra heal plus the ability to escape a lot of crowd control is so useful. But it's the AD carries I actually want to talk about for a second here, because Corki has managed to reach his very important Trinity Force Sorcerer Shoes point way ahead of Lucien even having an Infinity Edge, and that is devastating. 6-3-2 is Corki. Slips may be caught.
You may be here with the Solar Flare coming in. It will stun in place, and Bod now comes in with the damage. He has very little to return. The exhaust is now coming off the Corki, and he will just turn around and blow up the Leona. Dog Harvester and Bod have to get away as soon as possible. Equalizer will keep them at range, and this is a cleanup time for Vinny. He has 3 very low health targets ready to be picked up. Bromire drops as well, a 1 for 2. They were able to escape with Zed and Lee Sin. A little bit curious why Vinny didn't decide to clean up.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised as well. I mean, Vinny, his ult, was it running when Lee Sin was over the wall? I didn't quite catch whether they had the vision of that, but Lee kind of just recalled out in blue buff.
Yeah.
A little bit surprised on that, but if they can get a tower from this, that'll be completely worth it. Far more important than getting 1 extra kill.
And Rengar has basically gone tank Rengar. Maybe that's the reason he didn't try to attempt it. He's just gone for the Spirit Visage to increase the healing in lane. He was having a nasty laning phase, but how will he transition into the rest of the game? The rest of the team is doing fairly well, however. The 7-3-3 Corki is a small part of that.
Yeah, it's a small part of that, in the sense that it's a very large
almost
part
everything.
Of that. Yeah. 2,100 gold on him at the moment. Just had to do some simple maths there. more like reading, but I wonder whether he'll opt for that last whisper that we've seen from a couple of players, get that extra penetration very early on, which typically you don't see very often, or whether he'll go the standard Infinity Edge route, which is what he's going to do. That's far more orthodox, far more standard on Corki.
Unlikely we'll see a last whisper until at least the third item.
Yeah, we saw it earlier today, but I'm not going to spoil that series.
We did. We've also seen Black Cleaver on Corki. We've also seen Leandri's Torment, which is something that we haven't seen a lot of, and it was also a Corki who was very far ahead.
Yeah, that was part of that. He had that Leandri's next to the Black Cleaver. That's
a lot of penetration.
Needless amounts.
Moose fighting off against his opponent's support. There's another ward. And will not be able to clear it. Does not have the ability to do so. Has already used the sweeper. Everyone has just kind of gone back to laning phase, though. Vinny returned into the top lane, and despite his laning phase, is still actually out-farming the Rumble by at least 2 ways here, which is a little bit curious from Maya. Of course, the auto-attack animation of Rumble is hard to use, but typically you play enough Rumble and you are able to work around it.
Not only that, but if you're not particularly comfortable on Rumble, using Flame Spitter can be very disruptive.
Yeah.
Because you can't really control the minion wave while Flame Spitter is active. You pretty much just are pushing. It's very difficult to kind of like singly last hit a minion if it's got aggro from the rest of the wave. It takes just a little bit of comfortability with playing Rumble. That's why you typically don't see a lot of Rumble out of players that have never played him, especially the ultimate as well. Vector casting is pretty difficult.
Well, Contact Zero comes in. It will be Bromine coming into this
equalizer.
fight. Equalizer comes down, locks up 2 targets, jumps over the wall. They still have Janna in their sights. Looking towards now Slurps, who is using his ultimate defensively. Lee Sin comes over the wall. They will be engaging now with the Death Mark. Comes in. There will be the first kill coming in for Bod. Contact Zero is on the back line trying to take him out. Will not be the case. Slurps is going to be eliminated here for the double kill. 4 for 1.
Rengar
ahead, but Vinny now comes into the fight. Picks up the first. Can he clean up here? He doesn't have too much damage, and Bromire also has the Face of the Mountain shield on top of him, and now is just chasing down Vinny for the kill.
Oh, is he going to get it?
He's trying to turn around onto Bromire. Not going to be the case. Ace comes in, 5 for 2.
Zenith Blade missed the first time and actually ended up giving away another kill there, but didn't miss the second, and that's going to be a dragon picked up. Rengar on full health, still able to pretty much deal a lot of damage in that fight on low health targets, but isn't particularly useful outside of that. That's what they got to be careful of. In that fight, the equalizer was not quite where it would have liked to have been. It was a little off angle, so it meant that as they were trying to get away out through the blue buff area, they weren't getting clipped by it as they came to the ramp entrance. If you can get an equalizer over a very small entrance like that, it is almost impossible to escape that team fight.
Yeah, because you run through the equalizer, you run into their team, and it puts you between a rock and a hard place. That would have been the correct place to place it. However, team fight still worked out for them pretty well. Salford now drawing this, even stabilizing this game. 4,000 gold in it, 3 towers as well. So still MMU with a significant advantage in this game. However, they still bleed, and Salford have read that.
I'm happy. Contact Zero is building Vi in the recommended way. And I don't mean recommended items. It's true, that is true.
Vinny found Bromire. And there will be Slurps coming in as well to try and pick up this kill. Looking for the charm, follows through with the Foxfires. Equalizers comes out, and there's nowhere close to being a good equalizer, but that's a good solo flare. They might want to re-engage in this one. 4 versus 5, maybe not the best decision with Leona. May have to be the sacrificial lamb, but is very far forward. A great Sonic Wave into a Resonating Strike, picks up a kill in return. Vinny gets knocked backwards with the kick, but they're staying in for way too long, and he is sticking to them like glue. Dark Harvester tries to get away. Bod just walks back into the team. Will be able to jump with the wall with Living Shadow. Auto attack follows him over the wall. A 3 for 1.
That's the Valkyrie forward that you choose. When you know your opponent is fleeing with absolutely nothing to turn around on you, then you can pick up the kills at the end of the fight. But 3 for 1 overall. Again, that equalizer was not on point. That was not the kind of place where you want it. But Rumble under pressure was caught out. He was pretty much dead from the get-go there, and a better equalizer would have meant they couldn't have followed up. If he'd have got it right over that opening again, that is where you want it to be, opening into the blue buff area. That's where Rumble excels in team fights. but it was just outside. It was in the river as well, and that's not where the fight was going. Again, you've got to cast that ultimate very quickly, and it's a very
hard.
difficult ultimate to actually get right.
Yeah, I know we're talking about it constantly. If this was a little bit better, if this was maybe more correctly placed,
Rumble's
but it's
hard,
extremely
man.
difficult.
For anybody that hasn't played Rumble and maybe is a top laner, go play Rumble and for the first 10 games, miss every Rumble ultimate you throw.
Especially if you use smart cast, it's just like, oh, I cast it behind me.
Yeah, exactly. Like, not even exaggerating that Rumble's ult is probably one of the hardest abilities to use.
Yeah, for sure. In the middle lane, it will be Contact Zero and Moose just trying to hold the fort. Sergeant Vodka comes in, trying to siege this one in. Do not have Lucian with them, and their siege is not the greatest in the world, especially when you have so much wave clear. The Ari coming out here, along with the Corki alone, is enough to clear out these waves almost instantly.
Yeah, and over in the bottom lane, take a look at the CS. 196 to 138, and take into account 9 kills on top of that. That is a big lead for Corki. He's got double buffs as well at the moment. That means it's going to be super difficult for anybody to get away from him.
Over a 3,000 gold advantage.
Ooh,
that is almost a full item ahead of his counterpart. And you can see that right now with the Trinity Force and the Infinity Edge and also the Sorcerer's Boots is looking towards even his defensive item. Just picked up a Negatron Cloak for now. Should be enough to keep him in these fights fairly healthy. But Corki is a very difficult threat to deal with, especially when you have a Janna there. Yeah,
it's because you can't really itemize against Corki efficiently, because you can itemize against his AD. Phosphorus Bomb with the Sorcerer's Boots is doing a fair amount of magic damage, so is the big one from the rockets. That's something that people don't maybe take into account, is the splash damage that is dealt as magic damage from the big rocket is insane. And cast your mind back a long, long way. Corki used to only get the big one every 4 rockets. Now he gets it every 3. And that is a very big difference, because they come up faster, you deal more damage, and you get more on a complete rotation, because now you get 2 for sure on the entire 7 rockets that you can fire.
Yeah. And that's extremely important, because Corki does so much mixed damage. As you mentioned, can't itemize against that. And the Charm comes through very close to the backsides of Astronomica. Coming in here, trying to find that pick. Lion Eyes looking for those phosphorus bombs, clearing out these waves very quickly. This is the first time that Manchester Metropolitan have been on the offensive, looking to try and take even more towers, and now moving towards the Baron, maybe even to start a Baron dance, and they've pinged it.
This is their time to fight, though, and really this is, well, like, not at objectives is what I will say on that one, because Rumble is kind of the king on that. This is the time, though, that Manchester Metropolitan have their damage spike. They've got a Corki that is very strong at this point. Ari isn't particularly going to fall off, but you can see already how much damage Corki is doing, and I don't know whether Corki is so far ahead that Lucian is always going to be out of this game. That is the problem, because Lucian will passively scale better than Corki will.
But so far, the power spike has not shown any sign of stopping anytime soon. 26 minutes into this game, Corki is only getting stronger at this point. And now with Wrangle coming in from the side, they do have that exclamation mark. They know where he is. They jump in, trying to get this kill onto Dog Harvester. They will be jumping away with the Living Shadow. No kills just yet, but Lee Sin will be the sacrificial lamb, but will be enough, because Lion Eyes looking for the second one onto Astronomica. A 1 for 0. What will they do with this kill?
They were thinking about Baron for a sec. They look like they're still thinking about it, but honestly, they should just look to take objectives from this top and bottom tower. Are pretty exposed right now. They are going to clear out the buffs. That's a decent, decision to make here. But then, okay, Dragon. That is what they're going to do. It has recently come up, so that exactly is the best case scenario for them.
Yeah. So pick up a couple of buffs, manage to get the Dragon as well. Go back to base as well with that pickup, plus the Dragon. 2 of them with over 1,000 gold in their back pockets, 1,600 on Ari, easily enough for an easily large rod, or even looking to complete another item. In fact, has 2 full items, so looking towards the third.
And that's Manchester Metropolitan's second Dragon of the game against a team that have Rumble. That is not something that you'd normally say. Typically, Rumble is so good at getting objective-based team fights that it's difficult to pick up an objective without him actually being there. He hasn't had teleport available to kind of counteract any of these, and with the map control that Manchester Metropolitan have, it's very difficult for them actually to, for Salford to contest any of these objectives.
And I'd like to draw your attention to top lane where a recurve bow has been picked up by Vinny here. And you'd have to assume, I guess that would be Sword of the Divine. But without any damage behind it, I'm not sure how well it would do.
Again, we haven't seen Wits End in a very long time, so I'm actually struggling to remember if it is an Egatron cloak, but I'm pretty sure, Null Magic, but I'm pretty sure it is. I think that may be going towards a Wits End.
Okay.
I think. But again, don't quote me on that because nobody builds Wits End, but we've had 2 today. To be honest, I can't even remember the last time I casted a game that had Wits End. No. Maybe when Warwick was being played a lot.
Perhaps, but Vinny has been caught out here, coming in from the side, but that's 2 people locked up by Vinny by himself, looking to try and get into this fight, moving to the back line, but he's very low himself, trying to move on to Dog Harvester, will be juking out the way, with the death mark, will be ticking down, picking up the kill, now a 4 versus 5, but they've used a lot on that Rengar alone, everyone is incredibly low, this is just Corki cleanup mission coming into the mid lane, he's still extremely strong as he heads into this one, looking for the first kill of the fight, finally drops, there's the second, there's the third, all in quick succession, everyone's so low HP, it was going to reach the breaking point. Bot turns around, tries to trade off with the Corki, and will not get anywhere with that one. Contact Zero tanks up the turret for the AD carry, and now comes into Siege.
Big fight in favor of Manchester Metropolitan. They are going to push down this inhibitor turret and get the inhibitor from it. I don't think Zed can actually stop this. He may pick up an exit kill here, but it would not be enough to stop a complete inhibitor going down here. This is a big, big power play out of MMU.
Yeah, MMU definitely closing in for the kill in this game so far, going for the jugular, picking up that last team fight very, very convincingly. And it was just so much burnt on Vinny. He jumped in on basically no HP and everyone burnt everything just to kill him.
It's becoming very difficult now for Salford to get what they want in team fights. They want Zed, they want Dark Harvester to get in the fight and assassinate a target. But take a look down the itemizations. Zhonya's Hourglass on Ahri, not going to die to a death mark. The buildings of a QSS and a Mercurial Scimitar on Corki. Oh, they've caught one out.
They're looking for the pick onto Lee Sin, but he is extremely slippery to try and pick up. Dog Harvester has been caught out. There's the jump. Will be jumping away. He goes back into the fight. Uses Death Mark. Wants to get onto Vinny. Maybe not the greatest target, but have they killed Ahri? Yes, they have. Vinny trying to get away from this one, and has he managed to do it? He jumps back in, gets the extra heal, goes in with the kill. A 1-for-1. Both mid laners have gone down so far. Contact Zero getting pushed back, and that was a much better engage for Salford.
But it's all because Corki was in the bottom lane. Good lockdown there onto Rumble is going to hold him in place. I don't think Janna and Vi can really do too much here because of their health. They'll take too much damage trying to chase. Yes, Corki is strong. Are they going to give him a free engage?
This is a Bromide from the side. This is a perfect equalizer being lined up for this one. And Valkyrie comes backwards, will be zoning the way. Moose is trying the best that he can to use the Monsoon. Now comes in Vinny for the cleanup. Moving on to Bot, tries to pick up the kill. Contact is still very low and comes back into the fight again. Corki is still not here. Now returns to the fight after getting a bit of lifesteal. Vinny will be dropping. Can he do enough? There's the Zonya's. Bot is coming into this fight, but it's a 1 versus 2. Oh, he picks up 1, gets the second. 1 versus 2. Corki comes out supreme.
Oh, Zonya's is normally so good as an ability to, or as an item to kind of escape damage, but against the Corki, who is skill shot based, it means you're exactly lining up in one place, and he can just position for the best possible turn to follow that. And Corki picks up a double to end that. I feel like if they'd have both just gone all in, that was a pretty easy kill onto a Corki with no summoners. But, you know, to say la vie, you hit the Zonyas and you're kind of a sitting duck when you come out of it. And overall, that shouldn't have even happened. MMU should not have been caught out without Corki. They shouldn't have chosen to fight. They used the teleport, and Rengar comes back into the fight and dies in the second time of this fight. It was basically a 6-on-5 when you take that into account. And MMU still barely scraped their way out because of just Corki being in the bottom lane farming.
It didn't matter though, because Corki is so far ahead, they can make these slip-ups, and they are so far ahead, it allows them more breathing room in how clean-cut they are with their plays. Either way, not the best of team fights, because a team fight the other way, without the Corki, and then Corki coming in at the end and being cleaned up, is not what they want at all. 28 currently to 21 kills, still the 11,000 gold advantage. They are so far ahead, but if they continue to make these slip-ups, these misplays, Salford have a way back into this game.
Yeah, it's very dangerous to start letting those kind of slip-ups come into your game. That really is just timing of not knowing where Corky is. And I mean, you see it at the top level from time to time, just somebody out in a lane that they really shouldn't be at this point in the game, and that vision alone is the information that people need just to go and engage. And that is exactly what we saw. But Dragon is about to spawn, which means MMU are pretty handily going to take that down. I don't think there's really any chance of anything stopping it. Giant Wave in the bottom lane is probably the next focus here for MMU if they wanted to rotate down to it.
They have their inhibitor down, so there's no reason not to go for these inner turrets now and try and punch down another inhibitor turret. The inhibitor has now respawned, so that might be their way into a next fight. And Corky is so incredibly strong at this point. Has the Bloodthirster, has yet another BF sword. It's not even opting towards attack speed. He's just a spellcaster at this stage.
Yeah, I'm assuming that one's going towards Mercurial Scimitar.
Yeah,
I would
make a lot of
hope.
sense.
Otherwise, I'm scratching my head as to what it's
Retriever.
Yeah. Either that or he's pulling a cop and is going second Infinity Edge.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's going to happen in a million years. But top lane looks like the focus here out of MMU. And the culling just going to simply burn the wave down. That's a big cooldown, but a valuable cooldown to be used for wave clear like that. The problem is I don't know whether top tower is essentially worth fighting over here because they haven't exposed inhib.
Yeah, this is very strange as a play. They really want this inner turret. I guess they were thinking it was easier, and now they're here, they're going to carry on.
Like, if you fight and lose here, you lose the game.
Yeah, and here's the equalizer. Just clears out the minion waves, and Corky is just allowed to be on the front line and kill everyone who exists underneath this turret. Dog Harvester gets initiated on. Here comes Vinny, looking for the clean and picks up one, picks up three. There's the triple kill. Moves onto Sergeant Vodka, looking for this quadra kill to come out. Corky comes in, mops up that one. The ace, the 5 for 0. This very well may be the game here.
They don't have a minion wave in mid, though. They're not able to take that down. They need to get into the base and take the inhibitor. From there, if the rest of the team were to swing, or stay in top lane, they can swing back around and get a second inhibitor from this. That would be probably best case scenario here for MMU.
They still have another full 20 seconds on most of the death timers from the whole team of Salford. Can they take a Nexus turret from this one? They choose to back off.
Yeah, they opt not to. They don't feel confident with their health bars, with the minion waves. If they had Baron, it would be a completely different story because they'd have the Baron regen. But currently, Baron is still available on the map. I don't think they're going to opt for it just because of the way they've been tracked through the jungle with the vision here. It's a bit of a risky play, but they are going to back off. Take a look at the gold currently. 3,000 on Corky, nearly 3,000 on Rengar, 2,000 on Vi. They need to go back, spend that gold, get it into items, and make sure they're at their strongest possible point to take the game.
Yeah, they're playing it safe essentially here, Stress, and there's no reason for them to rush out this game. Despite Corky, you expect later the game goes, he will be outscaled, but 16 kills, make sure that's not going to be the case in this game. Has gone back to base, and there's the Mercurial Scimitar.
Yeah, finally going. Not like Zed's been getting through to Corky too much anyway, but now it just makes it ability for Corky to die to Zed.
Yeah, and Zed in fact has been using most of his ultimates on Vinny to try and chunk him down before he gets to the back line, but Vinny is essentially a tank here. He built tank before building any damage, and you were right on the money, Stress, it was at wit's end.
It was, and followed up with a Blade of the Ruin King as well, which is not a common item.
Nope.
And then again, we don't see a lot of lane Rengar. That's something I will say.
Yeah.
It's something that unless you're Mimer, you tend not to do.
Yeah, and even Mimer
doesn't play it anymore.
Exactly.
So, yeah. It's more of his solo queue champion.
Yeah. And we'll be bringing it into this game with pretty good effect. 8, 6, and 11 so far. Did not have the best laning phase against Rumble, but still did not matter as he is the secondary initiator for this fight. They go all in onto this Rengar, and he's quite happy to take all of this burst. He in fact doesn't have the flash and now has stealthed up. Doesn't matter, shut down onto Vinny. But this is really going to matter because now he gets completely wasted in the Baron pit, gets taken down. A 1-for-1, however, but there's the Baron going to MMU, and this may be the last nail in the coffin. And Salford is circling the drain in this game here. Stress has been astronomical, looking for his engage into this fight. Doesn't look like he'll be able to find it. This is a 4-on-3.
MMU just buying time though. Minions are about to push in through the top and mid waves, and unless they can get a pick.
And they do initiate onto Lion Eyes, but he just gets completely exploded by the Corki damage. There's so much damage now on the Corki, no one can even approach him. Astronomical will be the second one to fall. Auto attacks critting for over 600. Bot as well will get taken out. In fact, not taken out by Contact Zero. Will be able to juke over the wall with his relentless pursuit. But Lion Eyes is on the chase, looking to take down Sergeant Vodka as well. Contact Zero comes in as well, chimes in for the assist. Bod will be taken down by the Zephyr. The ace comes out, the 5 for 2, and this is surely the game as they close in onto the base.
They tried to get the pick there from Corki, but you know, he had between the Monsoon regen and that QSS, he was able to get out of there pretty handily.
And MMU go one step closer to securing their 5 tickets to Salou.
Yes, indeed, and that is what everybody is playing for. Is you know, that is our first prize here. I believe second prize and third prize is some RP as well. So there is still a lot to play for, but that puts Manchester Metropolitan in the consolation final. So they are a guaranteed top 3.
Yeah, they are trying to progress further through this tournament, has done very well in all the games we've casted, so apparently they are exceptional on stage, as it were, so far in this tournament. But either way, guys, thank you for joining us. We still have a couple of games to go for the remainder of today, but we will be taking a short break, so don't go anywhere. We'll be back shortly.